Good morning. This is another installment, the third, on the theme that there are weeks where decades happen. The world is profoundly different today compared to just 1 month ago. The illusion of NATO military superiority has been shattered forever in Ukraine. And in the Middle East, we just learned that the US Navy and the IDF are defenseless to protect Israel from ballistic missiles inbound from Iran. China's economy continues to expand despite high tariffs and sanctions from North America and Europe. And all these realities are hitting at the same time, and they will permanently scramble global diplomatic relationships and reset the world's economy. By now, Ukraine was supposed to be a member of NATO, and Russia was supposed to be bankrupt. Western regulators seized Russian foreign exchange reserves in European banks and put hard sanctions against the Russian economy. The United States and NATO poured billions of dollars worth of military hardware into Ukraine, along with high levels of intelligence support and logistics, and that has all been for naught. Russian troops are advancing slowly but decisively on all fronts, and Kiev, the capital, is under regular bombardment by drones and missiles launched by Russian forces. In the Middle East, it was exactly a month ago that Israel struck what they expected to be a decapitating blow against Iran. Their objective was regime change in Tehran, and that goal was echoed in Washington too. The Israeli operation was many months in the making and involved attacks from multiple directions and countries. A bunch of top Iranian officials and military officers were killed, and nuclear scientists in Iran were also killed, some of whom were at home with their families. So this was a very highly coordinated operation, but it was just a few hours later that Iran brushed themselves off and launched strikes of their own toward Israel. Up until then, everyone just assumed that Israel's Iron Dome defenses would hold up just as before. US Navy forces are also in theater and were set to work right away intercepting Iranian missiles. Most of the Iranian inbounds were intercepted, but at a staggering cost. A minimum of 2 interceptor missiles costing several millions of dollars each are needed to engage a single Iranian inbound, which cost under $1 million apiece. That's to say that all the math works to Iran's favor no matter what happens. Their missile will take out 2 Israeli or American interceptors or hit a high-profile target in Israel itself. There was no downside for Iran to launch a missile, even when they knew it would probably be brought down. Even in the first days of the Israeli-Iranian conflict, we knew Iranian rockets were getting through the Israeli missile defenses. Later we learned just how bad things were on the ground there. This is a map from Larry Johnson. The website is here, and he's invited all the time to appear on other channels. He was with the CIA and State Department in a previous life, and it's just a guess that he probably wasn't crazy about the dress codes where he used to work. Anyway, Tel Aviv had a blackout on news reporting from Israel, but enough still gets through on X and Telegram that he was able to piece together what was getting hit and where. None of this news is good to anyone who expected the Iron Dome and the American Navy to protect even the highest level, most visible, and most strategic targets. The Israeli War Ministry, a Mossad intelligence training base, Haifa, the oil refinery and port, the Ben Gurion International Airport, the Israeli Nuclear Research Center, a top secret cybersecurity unit, a bunch of air and army bases, power plants, weapons manufacturers. The Tel Aviv Stock Exchange was also hit. This is a comprehensive target map of key strategic, economic, and scientific assets that are spread throughout the country, and Iran was able to hit them all. And they did so within just days of much of their top military leadership being wiped out. Pulling back a bit, it's clear now that it's our arsenals that have been bled dry. And it is amazing that it's only now that policymakers and industry leaders are realizing what all those Chinese export bans on rare earth metals and magnets add up to. It means that the Pentagon and the NATO countries cannot build weapons. It doesn't matter what the Pentagon's budget is, or that Europe just agreed to devote 5% of their GDP to new defense spending. Without Chinese antimony, nobody can make artillery or bombs. Without Chinese gallium, nobody can build radars or AWACS planes. Without Chinese germanium, no more military satellites or missile guidance systems. Without Chinese graphite, no more stealthy planes or submarines or high-performance fighter jets. Without Chinese tungsten, no more armored vehicles or armor-piercing munitions. Long way of saying that every artillery shell fired, every bomb dropped, every missile launched over Ukraine or the Middle East cannot be replaced. Same thing goes for everything used in our training exercises. And it's hard to know if this was our strategy in the beginning, but it's certainly the reality now. In diplomacy, leaders in countries not in Europe or North America are facing a different world too. Nothing is moving the needle in Ukraine after 3 years of intense diplomatic, economic, and military pressure. No country in the world is as lavishly supplied by the most modern equipment than Israel, who has a blank check to spend in Washington and a call on our most advanced gear. But it's become clear that Israel is no longer the dominant military force in the Middle East. That myth blew up along with the Mossad base on Larry Johnson's map. So for countries in South America or Africa or elsewhere here in Asia, they're coming to some hard conclusions that if the Western military umbrella doesn't work over Eastern Europe or Israel, the question is asked and answered how effective it could be anywhere else. In global trade, business and economics, everything's going the same way. Russian oil and gas continues to flow despite heavy Western sanctions. Iranian oil exports last year were the highest in almost 50 years, despite heavy Western sanctions. China's semiconductor industry is stronger than ever, despite heavy Western sanctions. Business executives and owners in companies large and small realize now that all of our supply chains run through the BRICS countries. Almost all the world's new emerging class of consumers are also in those countries. And if we hope our companies survive, we need access to those supply chains, and we need plans to reach those consumers. And when firms shop for raw materials from BRICS countries or manufactured products from China, we have no choice but to agree to whatever payment terms they insist on. We will go through banks in Hong Kong instead of banks in New York or London. We won't notice much of a difference going through the new BRICS trading system instead of using SWIFT banks, and that is just the way business will be done from now on. Even for families across the world, everything is different today compared to the day before yesterday. A middle-class South American or African family with a couple of kids at home, they may have planned to save up $1 jillion so they can head off to Harvard or Stanford one day, and thereby ensure the success of that family over the next generation. We should forget about that too. Our universities are plunging in the rankings, so it's much more likely that they'll keep their money and their kids closer to home and just tell them to be super nice to anyone they see in class who looks Asian. This is Jinan, Shandong. Be good.
We pray that your spirit is poured out, that billion people are saved and brought to faith in Jesus Christ. We pray that you bring mentors and disciples, family, to lead us the way, to show us to be better Christians, stronger believers, to encourage us